Good morning on Monday, November 20th. It's episode 319 of the 359 podcast. You know me, I'm BVG. Shout out to Seoul, shout out to Dallas, shout out to Malta, to all of our international listeners here and beyond. Your hosts today include Alfred and Ben Fox Rubin.
Way to go.
I didn't know there'd be this many people watching the show. Can I still back out of this or no?
Yeah, you can leave. I can just do it on my own.
Are you holding your CNET award?
Yeah, they gave me this.
So then we should play you off.
We just lost everybody. Anyway, so today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the HomePod. That's Apple's $350 smart speaker. It was expected to be available for the holiday season. Unfortunately, Apple delayed it. They said that on Friday. We're also talking about the Google Pixel Buds, which apparently offer real-time...
Are a dud.
They're kind of a dud.
Pixel duds.
Pixel duds. They did get some
noises.
they did get some poor reviews. We'll go over some of the info from David Carnoy's review that just recently published. As always, send in your questions and comments. BVG will get to as many as he can at the end of the show. Let's make podcast history.
Oh, shut up. Here we go. Hangout. We'll see you in the chat in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. From 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred.
Interested in buying Apple's new HomePod smart speaker for the holidays? Well, you're out of luck. Apple on Friday said it's delaying the release of the device up until next year. To me, this is a pretty big miss. As far as I'm concerned, Apple was late already to the smart speaker world. Siri isn't that good to begin with. They really needed something like this to try to engage people in their smart speaker. And now they're just saying, all right, we're going to see it next year.
Yeah, well, I figured if you're going to be late, you might as well just continue being late to make sure you have the best product out there. You know, I think it's much better than, rushing out and, here it is, even though it's not as good as it could be. And I think, there's a lot of people who are willing to wait for Apple.
Totally.
They've already been waiting for like 2-3 years now. So what's another year?
I mean, that does remind me of an old saying of mine where if you're going to be late, you might as well already be very, very late.
Yes.
Which is like, okay, fine. But I don't know. Do you find this at least remotely embarrassing for the company? I mean, like you're supposed to have a product launch for the holiday season. This is a major tech company. They should have stuck this landing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Apple actually needs the holiday season. I mean, think about when they released their phones and their laptops, and those seem to do just fine without the holiday boost.
They do, especially with the phones, they do release them around September as people get started into the holiday season. But, you're right to the point
maybe
that they don't
come out during the great President's Day sales.
Or, they don't do a lot of sales to begin with. So, that's
President's
pretty
Day is
true.
a great holiday.
President's Day. Next up, CNET's own David Carnoy reviewed the new Google Pixel Buds, a pair of $159 Bluetooth earbuds that can translate speech in real time. Unfortunately, the translation feature is only available for Pixel phone owners, and David said it isn't really that different than the existing Google Translate app. Apparently, there were a lot of reviews that were a lot nastier about this product.
Yeah, a lot of people did not like the Pixel Buds, which brings me back to the HomePod point. Would you rather have something rushed to market and not work as well and be eviscerated, or would you rather just be a year late and have it be somewhat decent? I actually don't know if the HomePod will be decent, but that's what I'm assuming they're waiting it for.
I think the problem that I have with the Google Pixel Buds is that this is a problem of very high expectations. When Google first announced these things, everybody was talking about how this was like Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy Babelfish. You're just going to stick them in your ear, and all of a sudden you're going to understand Chinese or Spanish or Hebrew.
I will say I was definitely one of those chumps that when I saw the announcement, I was like, this is incredible. I'm going to get this for my parents. This
is going to change everything.
Any issues with translations or anything like that. Turns out that is not the case. It actually doesn't translate in real time. It's basically like listening from your phone, like the Translate app.
Yeah.
So it's only as good as Google Translate is,
it's basically a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's a shortcut for the Google Translate app, and the entire quote unquote killer feature of this thing isn't that different than
and then
a
the
free
fact that
app.
It's not even that great of Bluetooth, headsets
Correct.
to begin with. That's definitely disappointing considering that they're charging $160 for it. And it always appeared like really bulky to me. It has like a touchscreen feature on it, but
I
Not
don't
my
know.
cup of tea.
It said David described them as like they look like Mentos breath fresheners that you just kind of like stick in your ear and they stay there. So not really something that I would be too excited about. But hopefully they come up with something more similar to the Babelfish at some point. Either way, if you want to read more about these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ing.
Thanks for listening.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us for the recording of the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and start delving through the chat for really
Cool.
great comments and questions to keep the conversation going. So go ahead and submit those at your leisure. Until then, when do we have a date for the HomePod?
I think they said early 2018. What's interesting
But
about
no month, no.
President's Day, baby.
what's interesting was that they initially
That's
said
still just
December.
a softball, though, right?
They initially said December, but they never actually provided like a clear date. So for them to announce that they were punting on this makes sense because it's just before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and maybe they were hoping to at least have an announcement ready to say, hey, you had that $350 that you had sitting around. Why don't you hold on to it for another couple of weeks and we'll have the HomePod ready for you?
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe like this isn't that much of a big deal to me per se because I haven't been looking forward to the HomePod. I imagine that if Nintendo had like delayed like Super Mario Odyssey or something, I'd be really disappointed.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so I imagine I'm just going to put myself in the shoes of an Apple fan and assume that this is their Super Mario Odyssey.
I think the thing is that I cover smart speakers, and missing the launch of your first smart speaker for the holiday to me does seem like a big deal. But I do appreciate the points that you were making, where you were like, "Look, Apple has an extremely loyal fan base, and they're going to buy this product regardless, whether it's a couple months late or whatever." And if they nail the execution and people really like it and they are actually willing to pay $350, which I'm still wondering if they are, nobody's going to remember this delay. That's another good point about
did they
this.
ever specify why they were delaying? Is it to develop
like-
it more, or is it because I remember seeing something else saying there was like a lack of like supply or stock?
No, that wasn't it. I can actually read like the actual announcement. But either way, to answer the initial question, early 2018, which generally could mean January, or if you were going to look at this from a very broad perspective, it could be as late as June. Because early 2018 could mean the first 6 months of 2018. I think they intentionally kept it vague so that they would give themselves as much time as possible.
That sounds about right. And from what I'm gathering from the chat, from James Favor, what would you rather have, a not finished product or wait 4 more months? I know what I want. I'd wait. Decipher, I'd rather a product be late and finished than on time and feel like a beta. And Danny Green, I've waited months to get Kickstarter items. Why not a HomePod?
Yeah, that's fine, but Kickstarter items are from much smaller companies, and generally their execution is very different than what I would expect from a company like Apple, which is
A manufacturing giant.
and they're the most valued company in the world. They're the ones that set their own deadline. They're the ones that said that it would actually be available in December. So I do see this personally as an embarrassment for the company, and people should just like factor that in and, see that as a consideration.
Yeah, I think this is egg on their face. I don't really think it affects, people who are looking forward to buy it that much. I mean, they're going to wait like a couple more
True.
months for it, but I think they're going to get a finished product. And in the end, what's 4 months in the grand scheme of things,
I hear you. So let me read the quote from Apple from Friday. We can't wait for people to experience HomePod.
Turns out they can.
Apple's breakthrough wireless speaker for the home, but we need a little more time before it's ready for our customers. And that's basic. Oh, and we'll start shipping in the US, UK, and Australia in early 2018. Short, sweet, and it basically
So there's
sounds
no
like
explanation of why. Just that it's not ready.
It sounded more like it's not ready. We still have to work out a couple bugs, as opposed to we don't have enough supply or anything like that. So
I wonder what the bugs are. Maybe they only tested it with like Johnny Ives, and like you can only have his voice activated.
I mean, there's a theory that this is Siri related, but I don't really have like much a head to hang on that. But Siri isn't that good, and to actually make something that costs $350 and is voice activated, and the voice assistant has been half baked for a long time. Maybe they're working on improving
Yeah, but
Siri.
they're not exactly marketing this on the assistant though, right? They're marketing
Correct.
on like these are really good speakers. Even in their like apology, they're saying, our breakthrough wireless speaker for the home, not our smart speaker or smart assistant
true.
speaker. They're basically saying these are really good speakers.
You're
also
right.
Siri's on it.
You're right. Yeah. And that's because they obviously recognize that Siri is subpar compared to the others.
Continuing. Hey, my microphone. Hey, continuing on. This was a professional show, by the way. Continuing on with the conversation, the Datch says, delays are becoming an annual feature of Apple, right? Followed up by James Favor. It sounds like it is becoming a trend. AirPods last year and now the HomePod. That's a good point.
That's true with the AirPods.
Is it an Apple isolated thing, or is this what tech is doing now because they're trying to cram too much into too little time?
Well, wasn't the issue with the
That's a
AirPods
good
actually
point.
that they didn't have that much, like they had to increase the stock of it?
Oh, was that an actual raw
I mean, it was
material?
also it was delayed as well, but I never knew if it was a software issue or like they just needed to make even more of them.
Look, an argument could also be made that the iPhone 10 was quote unquote delayed because they launched it after the iPhone 8. The thing is that Apple was the one that established those deadlines. So traditionally, all of the iPhones tend to come out at the same time, but it's Apple's song that we're all dancing to. So if they want to say, hey, it's coming out 2 months later than the other ones, then at least they're establishing expectations properly. I mean, like another one to throw out there as far as an embarrassing delay is Amazon Go, which is their cashierless store. They had this big to do about it last holiday season. They said that one was going to be ready in 2017, and we're still waiting for it.
They still got time. They still got like a month.
No. They said early 2017.
It's still early.
It's still early 2017. We still have a little bit more time. But yeah, BVG, I appreciate what you're saying as far as, everybody wants to be wowed, and maybe they're cramming too much into it. It reminds me of the Galaxy Note 7 situation where they did a little too much. Was it the Note 6? What was it even called?
What are you talking about?
The Fire phone? The phone
From Amazon?
Forget it. Next question.
I just like this comment from Chris Gamer. He says, remember what happened to the first speaker Apple made? No, I don't recall that.
No,
what
I don't
speaker are you
either.
referring to, Chris? Please clarify.
Steve
We'd love to
Jobs?
expand on that.
Very funny.
Ouch. Holy crap.
He's the first Apple speaker.
Oh, my
Right.
God.
Moving on.
Watson, if this is just a speaker, why isn't Apple releasing it as part of Beats since they own that company?
Good question.
That's a really
Right.
good question.
It's the
Yeah,
same question
it's-
I've had about the AirPods.
It's the same question a lot of people have been having about Beats in general, is that what is Beats? Why are they using Beats? Like, why did they even spend billions of dollars on Beats if they're not actually going to be utilizing its IP that much or promoting Beats as a company? So it seems as though they're trying to fold Beats into Apple proper, and that's their long-term goal.
Sounds like it. And apologies, that was Chris Garner, not Chris Gamer. Apparently, I can't read anymore. Razor 2048, why is a HomePod so expensive? For the price, you can get a decent smartphone that you can connect to some speakers. HomePod is more expensive than the LG V20, for Christ's sake.
My theory is that because Apple is selling it.
That's a big point.
Shocking.
Another theory about HomePod that I heard from one analyst I talked to on Friday was that the smart speaker market in general got away from Apple. They realized that with the Google Home Mini and the Amazon Echo Dot, both of those are priced at around $50. Selling one for $350, which is 7 times that price, maybe they realized that it just wasn't a big enough market. So is there a possibility that they're going to introduce a different or smaller one along with the HomePod? I mean, like, we could hope so, but that's on Apple.
The HomePod Nano?
Right, the HomePod,
HomePod Shuffle?
The HomePod Shuffle. That's actually a pretty good one. And have it be at a price point that's a little bit more reasonable.
It only does random commands no matter what you tell it.
Yeah, you ask all you want, and it just comes up with the weather is.
Look, the argument is that if you're going to be spending that much money, especially if you're going to be spending like $700 because you want 2 of them, you want it to like fill a big room like a living room, maybe you want to go to, something like a Bose or something like that.
Yeah.
Which they're known for audio.
I mean,
as opposed to Apple, which is known for a lot of things.
That's the thing. The audiophiles already know what course they're going down here, but Apple's big sell point is that audio fidelity, that they've got more bass or whatever better sound out of the speaker. So on that note, Mark Chung Yan The issue is, what's the value proposition of the HomePod beyond the music-first direction versus a more robust voice assistant with key partnerships and richer feature sets, i.e. Echo, Google Home, so on?
I couldn't agree more.
They're going to make
Totally.
the pitch that the speakers give you a much richer experience. I'm serious. They're going to say that these
Better be
speakers are
richer
like,
if you're spending half of your fortune on
Red
it.
chair. Right, but
like,
what's
they're going to
stopping?
be saying that these speakers, yeah, but like you said, you could probably just buy a really good speaker for cheaper than that and hook up to your Echo.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm sure a lot of people are already doing right now, and that's why, from the way that I've been seeing it, Amazon is getting like just this close to actually being like the Kleenex of smart speakers.
I will tell you this though, is that I don't know how much you value your privacy, but as far as like between the three like smart speakers out there, I would probably argue that Apple's HomePod provides the most privacy with Siri.
Right.
Like they're not using that
storing
data
your
to
data.
sell it to advertisers or anything like that.
And no one else uses it.
So going back to that commenter, what's a value proposition? I guess if you're willing to spend that kind of money and you really value your privacy, which sometimes those things do actually work pretty well together, you would have a market for the HomePod. I'm struggling to actually see that is a pretty big market, but again, this is Apple, so there are a lot of people that are going to be interested because they're Apple loyalists and they love Apple, and it's a pretty product.
Srinjoy, if HomePod gets good reception, will other smart speakers get pricier in their next iterations, just like the OnePlus phones?
Also, good question. There's the Google Home Max that's already selling for $400. So we already are going to get an opportunity to see during this holiday season whether people are willing to spend that kind of money on a smart speaker. I would probably say from seeing sales of Echo speakers, the Echo Dot has been by far the best seller so far.
Because it's cheap. Everyone wants cheap stuff. I'm telling you, the Mini's probably going to outsell all the other home products.
And you can put it in multiple places around your home. Like even if you have like a relatively small home, unless it's a studio, maybe you want to fit a Home Mini or an Echo Dot in multiple locations and not break your budget doing it.
If anything, they should start making smart speakers that double as like other things in your home. Like imagine it's like a toilet paper holder, but it's like 2 Echo Dots. Just chilling.
I actually like that idea.
So
I'd like to see
or like
that
a roach
happen.
trap that
And then it's so
also
cheap.
a smart speaker.
It's so cheap you just throw it out after you catch a roach.
So let's talk about how these speakers get worked into other situations. Like Razer 2048 brings up they should give the HomePod, build it into an amp for like a 2.1 speaker setup if a user wants to use their own large speakers. And then Decipher followed that up saying, I believe they're going to market the HomePod as a great accessory for the Apple TV. Do we think that'll get built into an Apple TV natively? Any other devices in your home?
That's an interesting idea. So basically you buy a HomePod that's also an Apple TV
Or an Apple
streamer.
TV that has full HomePod capabilities built into it.
I mean, that is certainly a possibility. I hadn't considered that idea, so bravo to the commenters for coming up with that idea. I don't know.
No, and I mean, that's just a great place to think, though.
It's the problem is that, like, look, if they're not getting traction on a $350 smart speaker, what is going to cause them to then expand that line? It's just, it doesn't seem logical.
No.
Plus, they make almost all their money, or they make 2/3 of their revenue off of the iPhone. So that's their baby. That's the thing that they really care about.
Yeah. Couple more HomePod questions, and then we're going to talk about the buds. James Favor, has it been announced that other online streaming services might work with a HomePod, or is it just Apple Music? And related, Kevin Shaw, do any other smart speakers hook into Apple Music directly?
Those are good questions. I don't actually know the answers off the top of my head.
I know that the Echo does not hook into Apple Music.
I know the Echo works with Spotify,
Yes.
but you have to like set up your account for it. So Alfred can look this stuff up, and then we'll get back to that question in a bit.
Until then, James Favor also asks, what do you say is better, the Apple or Google earphones? I think right now
I haven't used either of them.
But I think
there are
right now
AirPods like everywhere. I see that stuff like on the train like every time I come in.
But if I remember correctly, as of right now, the higher rating standard on CNET from our reviewers, the AirPods do come out a little bit ahead from the Pixel Buds. You want to spot check me on that
Well,
one?
the thing is
spot
like
check
if
you on
they're
that.
competing as like headsets, most reviewers will give the advantage to the AirPod. It also has longer battery life and it charges faster, and
True.
it kind of just looks better. It's not like you don't have
People thought
That's
it was
too subjective.
weird.
That's too subjective.
People thought
to
it was
me-
weird at first.
Yeah, but like the Pixel Buds, like our review said, it's like they look like Mentos. Like they're meant. I mean, the AirPod doesn't look that much better. It looks like the head of a toothbrush, like that you chopped off and you put on your ears. But it's not Mentos.
they
I
have
like Mentos or toothbrush. I don't know.
Okay, so the AirPods do have a better rating on CNET. They get 4 stars. The Pixel Buds get 3 stars. But David Carnoy mentions in his review that from purely a sound perspective, taking out the whole real-time translation part, they're fairly comparable.
Yeah.
And he's an audio guy, so he's going to notice a lot of different things that
Right.
like,
His
I wouldn't
ears
really
are
care about.
tuned. He's not focusing so much on the bells and whistles.
I've been listening to the earbuds that come free with your iPhone for years, and it doesn't bother me that much. But
They're
then
perfectly
again-
fine.
right.
From an audiophile standpoint, yeah, they're not the best out there, but they're pretty good
But
for
they're
in the
free,
box.
and I'm not willing to spend $160.
They're not free
on-
though. The
Not
AirPods.
anymore.
No. I'm talking about the ones that come free with an iPhone. So
That
you don't
can't
have to
plug
spend
in anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to spend any additional money, and I don't really need to switch to Bluetooth yet. So
Yeah.
like, I'm not really a customer for that, but
Yeah.
Also, Apple Music is available for the Home Assistant, but you need to do it through like your iOS device. Like you have to stream it through your iPhone or
Ugh.
your iPad. You can't just say like play whatever on Apple Music.
Because naturally on the Google Home Assistant, they're building in Google Play.
Yep.
As Amazon built in Prime.
Amazon Music. Yep.
And et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
it's
but-
very hard to keep up with this stuff too. It's all like cloud-enabled software, so today it's one thing, and they're constantly adding new features to this stuff.
What I really want to do is I want to get one of each and race them. Mm-hmm. Like get away to like 3 people standing in front of the 3 major home speakers when they're all available and shout out commands and see who responds first along a long list of functions.
So in general, we've found so far that the Google Assistant has been the best and responds best to questions, especially trivia stuff.
Also, doesn't it have more response to colloquial kind of speech?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit more patient.
a little more human.
I actually don't like my Google Home because of that though, because it sometimes it gives me like too much stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. I'm like, I don't care.
It needs to be fast. If it's in voice, it needs to be fast. But Alexa tends to win with like more smart home partnerships, and there are a lot more skills. There are like 25,000 skills with Alexa. So between the two of them, you'd probably be happy with either one. The problem is with like Siri, Cortana, those tend to do a lot worse than those two other
I
guys.
did a comparison at home the other day. I'm pretty confident, to me at least, the Google Home Mini like sounds better than the Echo Dot. Like just
Oh, yeah.
speakers on their own.
I would think so.
Yeah, and for the same price, like I would definitely side of the Home Assistant Mini on this one.
Yeah. I mean, like Amazon was earlier to the market, so you would have to consciously get rid of your Echoes at this point if you're already an Echo household, as opposed to like a Google household.
So as a few people are trickling in a little bit late, let's just revisit, since we're at the tail end of the show anyways, about the Pixel Buds again and the criticisms that are coming across with them. We decided that, not we, but the powers that be have decided that sonically, totally comparable, design-wise, subjective, but the thing is their sell point, the translator, is a bit of a miss. Because, as you said,
They oversold it.
yeah, you thought it was going to be this magic. Would you compare it to Hitchhiker's
The
Guide?
Babblefish,
Yeah, the Babblefish, and it's not that at all. It's just a native built-in Google Translator
Yeah, it's a glorified translating app.
into
It's
the earbuds.
yeah, you
but
just get it read to you in your earbuds.
no other buds have that at all out there.
Nope.
True, but you also
But you
need
could
it-
also just
you-
pull your phone out and read it instead.
And you
That's
also
true.
it only works with Pixel phones at this point. So Google is trying to get people to buy Pixel phones and get you into like a Pixel ecosystem that they're trying to develop. So
The tech ecosystem.
yeah, so to me that's kind of frustrating. You're going to spend $160 on this thing if you're already an Android customer. They're like, sorry, not good enough.
Right.
You're going to have to buy a Pixel.
You're cool. Not you.
Screw you. All right, so before we go, there's a great commentary in the chat from Intrepid Chronics who says, I wish you could give these smart speakers their own names. I hate seeing Siri or Alexa or et cetera, et cetera. Sorry for everybody whose speakers I just triggered. What would you name your speaker if you had carte blanche?
What? You mean like
Like, you
other
can name
than
it anything you
Echo?
want.
Like
yes.
Carl? Would you name it Carl?
You mean like from The Walking Dead? Like that would be kind of fun.
Carl. No, I mean, if you had a chance, if you could rename, because the Echo is, you know who, or computer, or
Yo,
whatever,
What if?
and-
Or Amazon.
Or
You can also
Amazon.
say Amazon. Yeah.
Yo, what if like Amazon and all these smart speaker companies partnered up with the people that invented clap-on lights,
No, the clapper.
and then I could just
You just clap.
it and then say stuff.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What a waste of time.
No.
That would be nice if you could just name it anything. I think that would be helpful.
Well, that's what I'm asking. What would you name it?
I can't like
James Favor says C3PO.
C3PO sounds like fun, but
I
it
like
would get
calling
really
mine-
boring after a while.
So like on the Echo, like there's a 3 options that you have.
Omen Boy says Shaniqua.
There's
Okay.
there's like Echo, Alexa, Amazon, and then computer.
Right.
I think like computer's the worst one because it has the most syllables, and I like to keep it to Echo because it has the least.
It's Star
But
Trek.
it feels very cool. I'll say that. Like I had to have the one in my living room be computer because the others are like really close, and
Yeah.
I like they'll hear it, pick it up. So I call it computer a lot, and it's like super fun.
Earl Grey.
Sometimes I don't even need anything. I'm just like computer. How's your day?
Mr. Tibbs says Jeeves. Decipher says Samantha or Sam from the movie Her.
Nice.
I think I
Mom.
would ew, creepy.
Mom, how's the weather?
I think I would personally lean in favor of referencing one of my favorite television shows of all time, and that is I'd call mine Dingus.
Okay. There is a value to like having a 2-word thing like Hey Google or Okay Siri or whatever, or
like-
Hey Siri.
Yeah, like daddy. You
Okay.
call your smart assistant daddy.
This is getting super weird.
Kinky.
But you're less likely to say something like "Hey Google" randomly in a conversation. But anytime I'm like talking broadly about Alexa, because I talk a lot about Alexa at home since I write so much about it, invariably like one of the echoes will go off and be like, "Sorry, what's up?
It'd be funny if
Hey
they
Ben,
just,
how's it going?"
if they learn to ignore you because you say their name too much.
Yeah, one would hope so. I noticed that it started to get a little bit better where if it's in the middle of like a sentence, that it like turns itself on, but then it's like, oh, you're not talking about me.
Channing says Oracle from Batman. I love that reference. Chris Garner says Go Go Gadget.
I would probably say one of the reasons Amazon doesn't do this quite yet is that they don't want people barking curse words
Yeah.
at the Echo and then like loading them on YouTube or something and be like, hey, it responds to like this curse word, you know? So I think they are trying to limit it potentially for that reason. That's
Fine, crush my dreams. Anyways, to everybody suggesting Hal 9000 from Space Odyssey, have you learned nothing?
That's a good one though. I could go with Hal. I mean, like nobody in my house is named Hal, so that one might actually work.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm staunchly against that. Anyways, we are out of time, so thanks everybody for joining us. Ben, you want to take us out?
Yeah. This was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for joining. The 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and of course CNET.com. Thanks everybody for joining. It's going to be a short week this week, so enjoy the holidays, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Thanks everybody.